Hi guys, welcome back. So I am joined by Tim from Egg Chasers. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Rich.
Well, we had a good fun in the previous video where we looked back at the first two rounds of the Rugby Championship and we desperately restrained ourselves from looking forward. So do have a look at that video. But on this video, we're going to look forward to the final round of the Rugby Championship and ahead to the other warm-up games and then, of course, the World Cup. So we've got Australia at home to New Zealand. Let's just start with a nice, easy question, Tim. Can they possibly upset New Zealand at home?
No. Well, of course they can possibly.
I mean, okay, percentage wise, like it's like 1%.
Okay, yeah.
If
the game was played 10 times, I would give Australia 1, maybe 2 wins. So
yeah,
20% chance, let's say.
Okay, I mean, there's literally nothing we've seen so far to suggest they're going to win, but we don't quite know what teams they're going to put out either. So what approach do you think they're going to take going into this game? Because I've had a good conversation with my viewers about, well, hang on, this is a Bledisloe Cup game. Maybe they don't do all those rotations that they want to look at and they just play their strongest side. What do you reckon they're going to do?
I think any team that's going to win a World Cup needs 33 exceptional rugby players, and you have to put faith in those guys. So I don't see the sense in not making changes at this point, because I think I'm right in saying that you get into the first week of August and World Cup squads are being named. And bearing in mind, the Southern Hemisphere sides are going to be flying their players far north. I would imagine there's going to be a cull of some of the current squad before they travel.
That's a really good point. Before the actual cut-off date.
So I think there will be significant changes, particularly in the case of New Zealand, where everything seems very settled and a lot of boxes have been ticked, and you could pick probably 28, 29 of the 33 players, and there's not many spots that are up for grabs. So those spots are going to be contested this week. Australia, I don't know what the approach should be. Probably you need to start generating a bit of momentum and get your national media and get your fans on side and get a bit of swagger against the old enemy. So I think they've got to go big and go strong.
Well, let's talk about Australia then. I mean, they kind of know their best front row, which is, how good it is, we're not sure. But do they know the rest of that forward pack? Do they actually know what their best team is? Go on then. What do you reckon their best second row and back row is? This is your special area here. Skelton in there?
Yeah, Skelton definitely.
So Skelton definite. Okay. Who goes around him? It's an issue, isn't it?
It is a real issue. It is a real issue. And the big issue isn't just that there's not loads of great players, it's that no one seems to be going, that jersey's mine. Like we've had 5 different starters in the back row, and Bobby V is the only one you're going, oh, he's got his jersey. Because,
I wonder if they'll start pulling players from their A side as well and just saying, look, you've had your chance. We need to find something quick here. So what back row? What would your back row be for Australia?
I think Michael Hooper and Bobby V will be your starters. Blindside, big question. I was excited to see Tom Hooper because a big old unit. I Holloway and people like that. I thought, well, they're serviceable players. They're decent. The one that was in the A side, I know he's a number 8 primarily, but the one that was in the A side that I've always kind of liked when I've seen him is Harry Wilson, but he doesn't seem to be on the radar. But as a balance for those 3, you've got Bobby Valentini as just a baller, all action, does everything. Hooper is a real out-and-out 7.
Well, hang on. It has Hooper dropped off though? Is he quite the player we have in our heads?
No, you are absolutely right. I'm giving him the shirt because there is nobody better at this moment, and he's the captain. Leadership experience. If you are going to blood young players and have other people coming in, then I just think you need to turn to him. You're right that he's not playing well, but that's fine. So he's in my starting team every day. 6. just don't know what their solution is. Like I say, I thought when I've seen him, Harry Wilson's been great, but he's not in the squad. So
yeah, I mean, I would just.
I don't know. I don't know. Help.
There you go. I would even make a statement that Fraser McWright is on a par with Michael Hooper at the moment, and because it's a new team, they could just say, "Look, McWright, you're the youngster. You've got the energy. You're in." I think that could happen.
Well, yeah.
Too much of a change.
World Cup, that game against Wales. I don't know. I would. Yeah, you may well be right, and that'll be a huge call. I mean, that's the sort of call that Eddie Jones would make. He has made brave calls before, and he doesn't care about what the media thinks about him. But if they lost to Wales and he dropped Michael Hooper from a crate,
yeah,
game over.
I mean, one of the points I make is that, look, if Australia are going to win the World Cup, which seems a little ridiculous saying that after the first two games, maybe they need to do something drastic and say literally, Quade Cooper, your backup, and Carter Gordon, you are the man. You've got the talent to unlock a defence that maybe Quade Cooper doesn't have anymore. I mean, Cooper can run an attack, but can he create a try like Carter Gordon created in the first game right at the end?
Well, I was surprised not to see Carter Gordon play against Argentina, because I was thinking he's got to start. He's got to start soon. Is he going to start a Bledisloe game? Are they really going to do that? But maybe Eddie will. Well,
I think I would. I think they've got nothing to lose. I don't see them winning a World Cup as they're lined up at the moment. I mean, they put two on the bench, didn't they? Two backs on the bench against Argentina. And clearly the backup inside centre was Carter Gordon. Is he trying to do the old Ford Farrell? Or was it just a case of...
Oh, I can't believe I didn't think that myself before now. What an interesting shout.
Was it just a shame that the centre got injured, or was it actually a plan all along?
I can't see that being a plan, particularly because they've got some decent players that can fill that hole, and hopefully, and it looks like Len Ikitau is going to be back by the World Cup. But for the next little while, hey, the Ford Farrell thing only happened because of an injury. It wasn't. Manu Tuilagi got injured. No, was it Manu Tuilagi? I can't remember. Anyway, there were injuries which caused it, and it wasn't by design. It happened accidentally during a game, again in a series against Australia, and it worked and it continued. So maybe it'll be deja vu.
Maybe it's going to be fascinating to see what team Australia put out, because I mean, surely they're going to put out their strongest team against New Zealand. They can't afford to muck around here, or their confidence is going to be in pieces, right?
Yeah, 100%. The one shirt that I'm going to be very interested to see as well is who's in the 15 jersey. That's such an important position. And Tom Wright can be so good, and he does highlight reel stuff that I love. And maybe that's been why I've been fooled by him a little bit, but was disappointed.
Well, I don't. When I did my starting best teams, best 15s, well before this, I had Holloway in it. If I didn't have Wright in the team at all, just because he does that sort of thing.
Oh,
Kellaway,
that's the one. He's injured at the moment. Yeah, we got Hunter Paisami Paisami injured and coming back as well. He's another option.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's leave that hanging there. Comments on Australia below. New Zealand, though, looking forward, have they already, after two games, pretty much found their starting team? So if you go reel me through the pack, who do you reckon the starting pack is already?
Hooker, it could go anyway there. Props are obvious.
Yeah.
So the point is in the pack, it's which one of these great players do you want, not who's going to step up and take the shirt. In contrast to Australia, it's about balance, and it might be about who you're playing and what the matchup is. So what combination at lock do you want? Do you want an extra? Do you want Barrett on the? So I think Scott Barrett, maybe. I mean, Whitelock's so good and he's been there and done it. But Barrett, my goodness, he was good. He may have elevated himself just on pure merit to alongside Retallick.
I mean, surely Whitelock will play. I think Whitelock will play against Australia. Has to play. This is his chance. He's been rested. They made sure he's good from his injury. So it's surely going to be Retallick and Whitelock giving it a crack. And then are they going to leave Barrett out? Probably not. So it probably will be Frizzell on the bench, won't it? Or not at all.
Yeah. And those are the two ways of setting it up. Everything else is pretty settled in that New Zealand pack. And they've got players like Papali'i who are great that we've not really seen, who are really able deputy if one of those is injured. It's great.
Yeah, Finau's highly
system.
rated as well. Sam Kane's got an injury, which will be interesting to see. They probably won't risk him, I imagine. They'll get Papali'i or Finau a crack.
Yeah, I think possibly the position on the field, which there's the biggest question mark over, and you couldn't say what's going to be the person wearing it for the game against France to open the World Cup, is number 11.
Oh, yeah. No, that is it. The wingers, they are the question marks. I think the centres are so easy now. It is Jordy Barrett and Rico Ioane all day long. And that's it. And they just need to find some backup. The fullback seems to be Beauden Barrett, because he fits that system so well. He comes in and plays that extra 10, does the extra kicking, works fantastically. But wingers are absolutely up for grabs. Are there any nailed on wingers? Oh, well.
Will Jordan, probably.
Will Jordan, if fit, one.
It's just the 11 journey.
Yeah.
Narawa, Talea, Caleb Clark.
Fine Ganuku, 4 of them.
Fine Ganuku, who we've not seen.
No.
So take your pick. I didn't think Talea had a great game at the weekend in a very good New Zealand side.
Yeah, he worked hard, but he didn't really feature in attack, and he made a couple of errors. So it's not the game he would have wanted to have at all with all those other guys.
If I was doing a pecking order at the minute, it's probably Narawa.
Yeah,
at the top of that pile.
I think he is. I think he is at the moment, and I just wonder if New Zealand are going to say, right, let's put Australia to bed. Let's win this rugby championship, and just go all in with our best team. Smash Australia or beat Australia, and then everyone gets a rest, and it's just a massive rotation for the second game, because they play Australia again with the rugby championship done. So is that the time?
They actually play. They forgot they actually play South Africa again at Twickenham. I expect that to be a much changed team. So you might have a point there. Smash Australia now, and then chill.
Then completely chill. So I think in my selection, I said, or maybe keep a lot of the pack the same and change the backs. But maybe they will just chuck Whitelock in, play maybe one winger, rotate one winger, and then the rest as is, and just get the job done, and then say, right, we're happy now.
Do you know what would be I've not thought about this until you just said it then, but it would also be a 3-game series that would make it very similar to the World Cup knockouts or final pool game into the knockouts and stuff, and actually going week to week to week and just getting yourself ready for that wouldn't be a bad shout, actually, particularly as they're just getting back together again as a national team.
Yeah, like as in the Rugby Championship is your proper tournament practice, then a couple of games to experiment, and then wheel out the big boys again for their last game or something like that. That
makes a lot of sense, Rich.
Maybe.
We'll see if you're right when the teams come out, but that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on then. South Africa, they get a chance to finish really strong against Argentina. They had a blip in that first half against New Zealand. Apart from that, they've actually looked pretty good. They tried Willemse. Is that experiment dead now? The Willemse starting at 10?
I think so, and I think you absolutely nailed it when you've described him as a perfect number 23.
Well, he is.
The fact he can operate in that position is great. He's obviously an exceptional attacking rugby player. In the World Cup pressure cooker, I don't see South Africa winning a World Cup with Willemse in the 10 jersey. I'd love him to prove me wrong from his point of view, because he's a great player, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a talent. He can play centre, fullback, and fly half at international level. That's unbelievable. And for a team that almost exclusively does a 6-2 split, this is gold dust. Why would you start him? Even if he was just about good enough.
Yeah, it's like he's valuable. He's as valuable in that sense as Sekou Makalu is for France.
Yeah, now that's a
winger back row.
That's a proper utility player.
Yeah,
I think Eddie Jones wants one of those, but I don't think he's got one.
Yeah, so I think yes, you're right. It's Pollard when fit or Libbok, who both have a bit more balance to their play and fit the kind of South African mold. They can do both types of rugby, which is important. Outside of the 10, though, the Kanyuam's coming back into some form. Hopefully, he just needs more minutes because he's coming back from injury, hasn't
Yeah,
played.
I think so.
But his centre partner could be different from the 2019 World Cup this time round.
I think he sounds like a radical call, but I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure it is. Andre Esterhuizen, well, how old is he now? 27, 28, something like that? Perfect age. He's been tearing it up for ages. He's absolutely at the peak of his game. And that game, the first outing he had against Australia, was the best easily he's ever played for South Africa. And Deolande is not quite what he used to be. Just age has caught up with him. So I think it's quite an easy one. You just, a very settled team. You just swap out Deolande for Esterhuizen and job done, isn't it?
Well, almost. You pick Libbok or Pollard if fit at 10, so that's one. You flip the 12s around. You also love Makazole Mapimpi, but Kurt Lorenzo comes in for him if you're picking your strongest team. No question. Again, he just looked a bit rusty and not the force that he was 4 years ago. But I think that there's not I don't see those as contentious calls so far. Faf de Klerk, though, I don't know whether you've noticed in the comments, a lot of Springbok fans not particularly impressed with Faf.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? I think because he started at such a ridiculous level when he first broke into the scene, we're marking everything against that, aren't we? Yeah. I mean, he's still full of energy. He still looks athletically. He's still got it. So I think they should stick with him. I imagine he'll get another start, but I'd like to see Grant Williams get a start. Goodness me, he looks good.
It looks a firecracker when he comes on, that's for sure. And then Hendricks isn't too shabby either.
Yeah, he's back in. Yeah, he's back in the squad actually for this game. So, we may well see Faf and Hendricks.
So some changes. I guess the one final thing before we depart from South Africa is, again, Lou Diaga didn't look like the Lou Diaga we know. And without Sia Khaleesi, there isn't anyone that's grabbing that jersey in the back row.
This is his first game as well, isn't it? So I think Etzebeth and Diaga will get better, but they've got some serious options in that second row. I mean, Klein and Ori started with an absolute bang, didn't they? Against
and Australia. Got a lot of time for him.
It's an interesting one. Good comments from my viewers saying, look, Snyman, he's the ultimate impact second row. Don't waste him as a starter when you've got so many good starters. But at what point do you say, look, this guy's so good, let's just play him for the majority of the match? He's the fittest I've ever seen him.
Yeah. And I wonder if again, it depends how if South Africa have a crushing victory this weekend and start to motor, then it'll all go away. But at this moment in time, there's a lot of eyebrows being raised at the bomb squad concept.
Elaborate.
People wanting to see the best 15 on the field to start a game.
Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, I've been getting that as well. I mean, first of all, going back to this game quickly, that Pumas scrum is very susceptible. So I think whatever front row South Africa put out, they could annihilate Argentina. They could literally scrummage and maul them to death. Well, certainly scrummage them to death at home. So that's a real danger for Argentina. Bomb squad wise, hooker wise, I think Mbonambi and Marks are their best two hookers. So it's just a case of who do you want coming off the bench, and you'd prefer Marks coming off the bench. And if Mbonambi is the slightly better scrummager, slightly lower squatter, maybe you just go with the fact that, look, Marks is a worldy player, Mbonambi is very good, and you just go with it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but again, Rassie Erasmus has been there and done it, and I don't think there's going to be any panic whatsoever. So no, they're not going to be ripping up their philosophies. So I don't think we'll see huge changes.
I think so.
Maybe, like we say, in a few positions, particularly behind.
Trevor and Nkane might come in, have a game. Thomas du Toit still needs to have some proper minutes. Oxenchae, I don't think is fit yet. So they've got some fantastic. Koch hasn't had a start.
Great options.
I don't really mind what they do, to be honest. It's going to be so good.
They'll be fine. Just as you were absolutely right before the tournament to say people aren't giving New Zealand the respect they probably deserve for the talent that they have. It would be too reactionary to suddenly start talking about South Africa as being a waning force. They know how to pull it together at World Cup times.
No,
They've
there's
won
a
it.
few.
What, New Zealand and South Africa are both the only two teams that have won it 3 times. They'll be all right.
Oh yeah, no, they'll be terrifying. I mean, they absolutely destroyed Australia. I mean, they destroyed them, and they came up against possibly one of the best All Blacks halves they've ever played. You know, and they could absolutely crush the Pumas. And if they do that, they're in a great place. So go on, let's finish on Argentina. Is there any way they can go to South Africa and win, barring red cards?
Well, depending on selection, if South Africa use this as total rotation, then there's a chance, because Argentina have got that capacity. They went to New Zealand and won. They've been to Australia and won, and they've done it more than once in recent years, so they can do it. I don't see it. The way I look at Argentina is they have to have every one of their big players out on the field, and the other players that are with them play above themselves to draw out the sort of performances that we have seen from Argentina, which means they could go and do it. Yeah, absolutely. But they're just as likely to get spanked.
Yeah. I mean, going forward, as we are looking forward, can this Argentina team 23 get any better? And are there guys there you would slot in?
You've already mentioned the centre issue. I'm not convinced. I'm glad De La Fuente was back in, not just because his name's incredible, but because he gave a lot more balance to the back line. But I'm not convinced by Sinti as a centre.
He was lucky to retain his jersey, I think.
So they've tried him at 12. Now they've tried him at 13. I'm not sure that experiment is working out. So I would expect to see a change there. And then they do have good players coming. You know, I think they were playing in the top 14 late stages, or maybe even the final, wasn't it? That's why they haven't played so far. But Imhoff and Malia, one or both of those, may come into the back 3. Well, one of them certainly, and that does change the dynamic a little bit.
Dare I say, Buffelli hasn't been particularly great either. You know,
no,
I mean,
he's not.
When his kicking's on, it's amazing, but that hasn't been amazing. And in attack, you know, would you bring in Malia and Imhoff?
Quite possibly, and I think Malia might come. Yeah, Malia will probably come back in and wear 15 and push Buffelli to the wing.
Yeah,
potentially, which is where he operated most of the time in his in only a year or so ago when he was one of the best players in the world. So he spent a lot of time on the wing there because he isn't a great attacking force, and I think Argentina need to have that spark in the backfield. And so yeah, I could see that change. But they've got so many great like Iskro and Carreras and Santi Carreras when he's in the back, when he's at fullback as well, or on the wing. Fullback. Really great players. But who? I just don't know. I guess this is the issue. Michael Checker will know better than you or I, but I'm not exactly sure what the best combination is. This is what they need to work out.
Yeah. I think all eyes for me are going to be on their scrum against South Africa. If it gets absolutely destroyed, then you're going to go, they're in big trouble, because their back 5 of their pack, I think, is really handy. As you know, Alemano, if Lavanini, as long as they stay on the pitch and don't get carded, they've been very physical. And then if you add Kremer into Matera, Gonzalez, and Bruni, then that's 4 really good back row. So if they can get parity in that front, in the scrum, no, they could be in business. And
it's odd that we're talking these days about the wonderful box office wide men they've got, but they're weak up front. It was always the total reverse. So Argentina have undergone a bit of a change in their DNA, and they just need to get that balance back a bit. You're absolutely right. So yeah, all eyes on the first scrum.
I mean, stereotypes die hard, don't they? But Argentina are actually one of the most changeable sides in the world. I mean, they were like in the old days, proper old school, stick it up your jumper team, kick it. And then they went all action, throwing the ball around all over the place in their Jaguares day, shall we say. Then they've kind of gone back to basics a bit more, and their front rows dropped off. So they've been one of the most changeable teams in world rugby, I reckon.
Yeah. I guess this is what we need to sort out looking forward to Argentina, is that there's too many positions where I don't know who the best player is.
Yeah. Okay,
And,
so let's just finish on predictions then, Tim. Straight out. Australia, New Zealand. We've got bonus points in here as well to play with, of course. What do you see happening in that game?
New Zealand will score 4 tries and they will win. So
bonus point win.
I could see Australia getting a losing bonus point and a try bonus point. I'm going to say they'll get one of those two, probably a try. Actually 5-0.
Okay.
Yeah, 5-0.
I mean, Australia are in the right spot here because they haven't had a performance anywhere. They haven't had a half to really say this is how we play, and they could come out of that game with still not having that hat, something to hang the hat on. This is a real danger game. I don't mind if they lose, but they need at least something to say this is what we're all about.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. That's it.
Yeah. And South Africa, Argentina?
South Africa will win handily. Yeah, South Africa will win handily. They'll get the full 5 points. And I think Argentina will give a much better account of themselves against South Africa than they did against New Zealand.
Okay, so that would mean New Zealand win the Rugby Championship very well, South Africa following them up, and then we have that clear break between the two teams that look top quality and then the two that are really struggling. So we will see. Pop the comments below if you think that's the way it's going to go. All your comments about how the teams are evolving, players, all that sort of thing. Love to know what you think. And
just to pick up on what you said, Rich, sorry to interrupt.
Please.
You're absolutely right. The way you've described it, the separation, top two,
huge, isn't
bottom
it?
two, and Six Nations, top two, the rest. And where are those top two from the Rugby Championships and the top two from the Six Nations?
Yeah.
Head to head in that side of the draw. It's brutal.
Brutal and brilliant. Okay, Tim, we'll end it there. Thank you so much for your time.
Top man, Rich.
Cool. See you later, guys.